The anguish that little Hazel's parents experienced that fateful morning was beyond words, as their precious girl had just taken her final breath. Before leaving them, she clutched their hands tightly and made them promise not to weep for her. This promise proved impossible to uphold, for despite their efforts to remain strong, Hazel understood that her parents would struggle to cope with her heartbreaking departure. Later, they stumbled upon something that would leave them utterly shattered. When Joseph and Lucy learned that their little girl was unwell, they believed it to be a temporary issue, as she had always been a robust and healthy child. They had never faced any complications with her, neither before nor after her birth. She was a blessing from God, arriving during one of the most challenging periods of their lives, as they were grappling with the loss of their parents, who had tragically died in an accident while on their way to visit. The months that followed the devastating event were incredibly hard. The couple distanced themselves from God, but everything changed when they discovered they were expecting a little girl. Those closest to them noticed the transformation, bringing an indescribable joy into their lives. Their little angel blossomed before their eyes, and the couple felt their lives were finally complete, as the happiness little Hazel brought into their home was unparalleled. She became their lifeline during their darkest days, providing them with strength, hope, and a renewed sense of purpose. So when little Hazel began to feel ill, they tried not to be alarmed. Their little girl had always been very healthy and full of life, so unfortunately, they let the first warning that life gave them pass by. As time went on, her situation worsened, and the parents became desperate, taking their little girl to the nearest hospital for help as she began to suffer from multiple unbearable headaches and constant vomiting. The joy in her smile had disappeared, and she looked weaker and weaker. The doctors conducted all the necessary tests to determine the illness that afflicted the little girl, but unfortunately, the news was not good at all. The little girl had a large tumor in her head, which was gradually growing, compressing her brain, and leaving her in a vegetative state. That news devastated the parents, who at no time stopped blaming themselves for not having sought help sooner. They also blamed God for having abandoned them. The doctors explained to them that they were not to blame for anything because nothing could have been done earlier, as the tumor was in a very complicated location to treat. Even so, they decided to do everything possible to try to save their little girl. This is why little Hazel had to start a very exhaustive treatment, despite the doctor's recommendations, who did not fully agree. Hopes were very low. Even so, the parents insisted, desperate to extend the life of their little angel. Time passed, and the little girl tried to live her life normally. She loved to draw and write, so she constantly dedicated the time she was not in the hospital to doing what she loved most, although many times her little body could not endure the strong medications that had to be administered to her. Little by little, the little girl lost her strength and her abilities. Eventually, she could no longer even hold the colors she loved so much or play around the house as she used to. One day, the little girl couldn't take it anymore, and grabbing her parents by the hands, she asked them not to give her any more medicine because she didn't want to go to the hospital anymore. The little girl just wanted to be happy, painting, and playing. "I don't want it to hurt anymore. I love you, but I just want to rest." Little Hazel's rather bewildered parents faced a difficult moment. That same day, they had to make the hardest decision of their lives, to stop extending their daughter's life and let her be happy for the rest of her days. From that moment on, Hazel showed improvement. She was happy, writing and painting, jumping and laughing. But as the weeks passed, the heartbreaking moment arrived. Little Hazel said goodbye to her parents, who could not hide their sadness. Hazel held their hands and thanked them for allowing her to be happy during those last few days. She also asked them not to cry for her and to be happy, but it was very difficult for those parents who had to see their little angel leaving little by little, unable to do absolutely anything. The days following that terrible event were heartbreaking for the couple, as they felt completely alone in the world. Life had taken a very big turn in a short time, and they felt guilty for the passing of their little girl. The mother fell into a deep depression, crying in every corner of the house. On the other hand, the father focused on work, leaving his wife all alone. It was not until one day that the mother decided to enter her little girl's room and discovered something completely shocking. The little girl had left notes all over the room, seeking to comfort her parents after her departure. The little girl knew very well how much her death would affect them, so she decided to leave them many drawings and encouraging phrases so that they could continue living and be happy. Little Hazel wrote in each one of them about her happiness for having had wonderful parents. But that was not all. She thanked God for having given them the opportunity to know one another and also left them a very special drawing in which she asked them to please give it to her little brother, who would accompany them for the rest of their lives so that they would never be sad again. This was little Hazel's last wish, as it was the last drawing she made on her deathbed. All those notes surprised the couple because they realized that their daughter was stronger than they were, and eventually they decided to listen to her. That was how Andries was born, a little boy who would undoubtedly support those parents. They did not hesitate to tell him about his brave sister Hazel, who was now an angel watching over them from heaven. They also taught him that God is great and that sometimes He puts you in very difficult situations, but the truth is that He never abandons you because He will always have a purpose for your life. Hazel's purpose had been to teach them to love and be happy. Losing a child is incredibly painful and challenging to endure. This is something we all understand. However, often these little angels come into our lives to teach us how to truly live and love deeply. They will forever remain in our hearts, watching over us throughout our lives, just as Hazel did for her family. Dear viewers, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this incident. Please share your opinions in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Also subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you for your support.